Welcome back into the Pig Trail Show and welcome into another Hog Hoops Report. That's Kevin McPherson. I'm Jacob Morris. And Kevin, we're smack dab in the middle of recruiting season. I know you've been monitoring it a lot. And coming up, a big time 2025 decision that affects the Razorbacks in a big way. One the Razorback fans should get used to because it involves a certain five-star player. And Kevin, as we know, John Calipari does pretty well with those 5 stars.
He's really good. It's like Calipari reminds me, since we're now out of the spring, we're in the summer. He's that kid at a public Easter egg hunt that kind of gets all the eggs. You know, he loads up on them, and everybody else is fighting for what's left over, right? He's one of those guys. I think Arkansas is going to land a 5-star Friday, July 26th. Darius Acuff Jr., class of 2025, national rated number 4 player in the country according to 247 Sports. So anytime you're in the top 5, I think not only are you saying, yeah, I'm a 5-star, I might be the best player in the country.
Yeah.
6'3" lead guard out of Detroit. Detroit, Midwest, Detroit historically puts out those hard-nosed, tough kids that just know how to play. That's what he is. Now, he's a score-first lead guard. I think we're going to see that in Boogie Fland. But you'll also see the ability to create for others and facilitate. Darius Acuff Jr. is that kind of player. Now, I'm talking as though he's already a Razorback. I've been reporting for a while, not only that Arkansas is in the lead, but I believe he's recently gave a private silent commitment to John Calipari in Arkansas. I've also talked about a time frame when there wasn't really one out there, and what a source had told me a couple of weeks ago, it'll be right after Peach Jam, soon after Peach Jam. Well, Nike Peach Jam wrapped up today. His team finished up play there this weekend. But he's making the announcement a few days after. So Friday, 5 days from now, he'll make his announcement. It's down to Arkansas, Kansas. I mentioned he's from Detroit, plays at IMG Academy in Florida, but from Detroit. So the home state school, Michigan, is in the Final 3, Arkansas, Kansas, Michigan. UConn was in his Final 4. He recently dropped UConn from the list. UConn's the last place he visited back in late June. He visited Arkansas. It's the first high school player to visit Arkansas under Calipari when you look at that back in May. So he was the first one off the board. Calipari had barely been on the job a month. The other part of this is he visited Kentucky last year when Calipari was the head coach there several months ago. So when you look at his visits, there weren't a lot. He did visit Michigan. He's also visited Kansas. But it's down to Arkansas, Kansas, Michigan. I think Arkansas is not only in the driver's seat, but very likely we're going to hear Arkansas's name announced, and it would be the first high school player, that deep, really top-heavy class of 2025, first player off the board there. But counting the 3 players that Calipari brought with him from Kentucky, Boogie Fland, Carter Knox, and Billy Richmond, it would mark the 4th 5-star commitment/pledge since he's been on the job in April. There's not been a coach who's done that. You go back to Eric Patrick Musselman, EPM. He had the 3 5-star one-and-dones that went on to the NBA draft. We know that. But he's never had then a succession of the next guy. At one point in time, Bay Fall was a 5-star. He was McDonald's All-American. But he ended up not having 5-star status when the final recruiting rankings came out for his class. So technically, he came to Arkansas not as a 5-star, not bringing his name up. He since transferred. He's at Kansas State. But the point, Jacob, is that I think Calipari is about to land the 4th one. That'll be a first in Arkansas history in terms of successive classes, having that many 5-stars. And he's been on the job for 3 months. So I think we should all – well, let's see what plays out. Nothing's been announced. If I learn through this week that something's changed, and sometimes these 5 guards flip on a dime, man, it can happen. But right now it looks like it's clear sailing for the Hogs. And like Calipari's already going to be making some history here that I just talked about.
It'd be real rough if he turned around and didn't commit after all that, Kevin. But yeah, I mean, he is phenomenal. Razorback fans, I know you guys follow this closely, but if you haven't looked up his highlights on YouTube, that'll get you pretty excited. He moves a little bit different as a 5-star. And Kevin, you hit the nail on the head. We knew John Calipari was the best recruiter in the entire sport, but it feels different when all of a sudden you're watching it firsthand. You know what I mean? You know it could happen. You've seen it at Kentucky from a far ways away, but when he's doing it in Fayetteville, it's pretty special to watch. You mentioned Nike Peach Jam. It's wrapping up, and obviously Cal was a big part of that as well, being there and throughout the event. He was on the TV broadcast as well, and that's an event stock full of the best talent in the country as well.
No doubt about it. And Arkansas's front and center recruiting multiple players that were in the championship games today. When you look at the 16 and under group, local kid J.J. Andrews, national number 50, 5-star according to ESPN, 6'6" wing at a Little Rock Christian Academy, had a fantastic Nike Peach Jam run, including the title game today. His team, 16 under Bradville Elite, defeated team CP3 74-67. JJ, 7 of 10 from the field, made both his free throws, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, a couple of assists, and a block. But if you look at the 4 games over this weekend, including the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and then today's championship game, he averaged 21 points, had a couple of double-doubles, so averaged 8 rebounds, shot over 60% from the field and over 78% at the free throw line. Arguably the best player on the 16U level. His team, one of his teammates, another top 10 rated 5-star in the 2026 class, scored 21 points today and maybe got a little bit more recognition than JJ, but arguably the best player when you look consistently in the last few days at Peach Jam at the 16U level. And then 17 and under. Now, Arkansas hasn't offered him yet, by the way. Calipari has seen him a lot. I think an offer's got to be coming soon. Calipari's going to do it on his time frame. Maybe it's not as soon as I think it should be, but it's going to happen at some point. Keep an eye on that. But then moving over to the 17U, you had at least 5 future NBA players on the court together today. Knight Riders Elite, several players being recruited by Arkansas on that team, as well as the Oakland Soldiers. Knight Riders Elite went undefeated over the Nike Peach Jam events that started over a week ago and wrapped up today. So Knight Riders Elite won that title. So that age group that stuck together won the 15 and under, 16 and under, and 17U Peach Jam. Had never been done before, but the Boozer twins, Cameron Boozer, Arkansas's hot and heavy recruiting him, the number 2 player in the 2025 class, a 6'9", 5-star. Caleb Wilson, who I've interviewed, another 6'9", a combo forward, who had an outstanding run at Peach Jam. In fact, today had 6 block shots and just stuffed the stat sheet. But Caleb Wilson ranked in the top 5 in that 2025 class, another 5-star. 2 of the primary targets that John Calipari has as recruits on the winning team. On the losing team, A.J. DeBonsa, the number 1 overall player in class of 2025, a 6'9" combo forward, went off for 20-plus points today, showed his versatility offensively. Caleb Wilson met him at the rim a couple of times and blocked 2 of his shots as part of his 6-block game, by the way. But Wilson has told me that he had plans to visit Arkansas in the fall, that it'll be for a football game weekend among 5 schools: Arkansas, Duke, Georgia Tech, Oregon, and Tennessee. And he's been talking with Darius Acuff Jr. He told me, and I have written about this, reported about it on other platforms, but he has talked with him about playing college together. And he told me that he believes Acuff's headed to Arkansas. So there's that conversation. And he loves Calipari, visited Kentucky, same as Acuff, when Calipari was there. So keep an eye on Caleb Wilson. But the other player for Oakland Soldiers is class of 2026, the number 1 overall player. This guy is super versatile. Tyron Stokes, a 6'7" combo forward. He's like a big point forward. He runs the offense. He rebounds. He's a triple-double machine. It's no shortage of talent, and all these players have Arkansas on their wish list in terms of going to visit and having them in the top 5 or 6 schools they talk about. So it's a spoil of riches right now, and I think Darius Acuff Jr. will be the first domino circling back to that as we wrap this part of it up. First one, probable domino off the board of these 5-stars. Who knows who follows, but I say it again. As good as 23 and 24 classes were, I think 25 and 26 are even better. At the top, there's multiple guys that look to me almost like can't miss for the pro game, for the NBA. And those names I just went through are among those. And Calipari's in a great spot with several of these players. One other name I'll mention, kind of a late bloomer, but a national top 10 5-star. On Friday night, Calipari was in Indianapolis to see Chris Sinak Jr., 6'10" center, that Calipari had actually offered a scholarship to just a few weeks ago. Now went and saw him courtside. Arkansas is also expected to get a visit on October 4th through the 6th from Malachi Marino, a 6'11", 7-footer out of Kentucky that led his team to the Adidas 3SSB title game weekend before last. Kentucky and Louisville are thought to be the front runners, but among his 5 visits, Arkansas is going to get one. So, again, slated for October 4th through the 6th. On the 5th, the football Hogs host Tennessee. Man, so much 5-star talk. Calipari, it's not going to be a situation where he only plucks one. He brought 3 with him, and I think he's going to get at least that many. And look, he's talked about drilling down his classes, Jacob, from 6 to 7 high school guys to 3 or 4. This 25 class is so good. If he can get more than 4, he's going to load up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, I think we sound like a broken record every week we come on here and say, but it doesn't get old, right? You talk about all these guys have Arkansas on their wish list. It's just you keep pumping out graphics, and Arkansas is in a top 5. Arkansas is scheduling a visit, et cetera, et cetera. It's great to see, and hopefully ACUF is the first domino to fall there. But let's wrap up with some Summer League action. Summer League, always fun, always some pro hogs involved, and this year no different. The final couple days wrapping up, and couple pro hogs been active throughout the process.
Yeah, you got several. I think the ones that have really stood out, I've been talking about it for a while, but when I look at it, it's been Ricky Council IV, Mason Jones, a veteran, and then Nick Smith Jr. probably been the top 3 performers. Jordan Walsh just had his best game, had a double-double a couple of nights ago. We'll see how many of these pro hogs are playing today, games later on, but today is really the last day. There's some tournament games. There's a Final Four, so semifinals, and then tomorrow there's just one game, a championship game. So it's really wraps up today. So we'll see if Nick Smith Jr. is back on the court. We'll see if Ricky Council IV and the Sixers are going to play Boston. So expect to see Jordan Walsh. But you've had other Razorbacks, pro hogs that have made appearances. Odis Toney, Jimmy Witt Jr., Kamani Johnson's been on the Knicks roster. Stanley Moody's on a two-way deal with Milwaukee. He has not played in Summer League, however, but he just agreed to that 2-way deal with the Bucks. So a lot going on with pro hogs. And again, if I had to call it right now without these final games, if I was going to give a player of Summer League, for pro hog player of the Summer League, right now it's probably a toss-up between Ricky Council IV and Mason Jones. Yeah. And I'm probably going to give the nod to RC4. I'm probably going to let him edge that out. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, he's been good. He had the game where 29 points, and in the fourth quarter he went off for 19. And it's just, Summer League's a lot of fun because obviously guys get opportunities that might not normally on a roster, but you can also see guys just take big jumps, right? When they're all of a sudden they look like they're playing a different game in terms of other Summer League players out there. And he was unstoppable in that game, and he's been pretty phenomenal every game he's played.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with him is at Arkansas, you could see the potential.
Yeah.
Super athletic, sturdy, strong guy at 6'5", but didn't always use that frame. He was a fearless slasher and get to the free throw line. That stuff portends well no matter what level you go to. But defensively, he was, to me, always an enigma and really inconsistent. Getting on the glass, using that frame and athleticism, some of the stuff that was hit and miss and inconsistent. And then the defensive end, buying in on that end, he's really starting to put his physical tools into a more mature game at both ends of the floor, and it's paying off, man. I mean, that's how you go in your rookie season from being undrafted to earning a 4-year deal like a normal drafted player would have. He got that because the Sixers saw value in what he was doing in the G League, and then when they got his opportunities with the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA, he made the most of them. And now, again, Summer League, you can't predict that it's going to translate, but he already started showing some of it as a rookie last year, enough to earn that contract. And then to come into Summer League and at times dominate like that, the sky's the limit for Ricky Council IV. I think he's on a path. Let's see what happens, but he's on a path to being a regular 15-man roster guy with a chance for a lengthy career. 3-point shooting, by the way, which I didn't even talk about, has gotten much better. That was one of his offensive problems. He was a great offensive player, not so much shooting the 3 ball. That's improved vastly as well.
Yeah, he's really elevated, and kind of a surreal story when you think about him going undrafted and the Sixers saw what he could do, and earning a 4-year contract like that. It's pretty special. But that's going to do it for this week's Hog Hoops Report. That's Kevin McPherson. I'm Jacob Morris. More Picture Show coming up on the other side of the break.